All right, I think we will be able to start. So first of all, thank you everyone for being here. This is the very first workshop that we are doing with the Sandbox to do a general presentation of the game maker, but also the vision that we have about level design. And design in general and art also a little bit. So fortunately, Guillaume and Thibaut will help me today answer some questions, back me up on some information that I might miss. And we might have also Mark Stephenson, like I said, in like half an hour that will be here. So maybe Thibaut, you want to present yourself a little bit to everyone?
Sure, why not? So, hi everyone. I'm Thibaut, head of art for the Sandbox. I helped making the aesthetic of the game at the beginning of the project. I'm now leading a motion design team who is in charge of the various trailers and videos for the Sandbox, and also any kind of experience highlights. So if you have any kind of needs or require a specific trailer for your experiences or any kind of tricks actually, or any kind of help to make that yourself, well, you're welcome.
Cool, thank you. Guillaume, would you like to present yourself real quick?
Yes, to be brief, I'm one of the level designer of the Sandbox, and that's it.
That was brief indeed.
Yeah.
But surely your expertise within the game maker will help us today to move forward on the information.
Okay.
So like I said, there is Mark as well. I will do his presentation. He's basically kind of a hybrid game level designer with a lot of seniority and experience, helping us on various subjects within the Sandbox in terms of design. And I'm Jean-Baptiste, JB, and I'm the lead level designer of the Sandbox, taking care of the internal team, but also now the external team. And yeah, I will try to explain to you a bunch of stuff. And I think the very nice way to start would be to talk about the environment of where we are working in. First of all, there is all this aspect of accounts. Basically, we do have two environments. One is called prod, the other one is called demo. And the prod environment is basically the official website or dashboard. We can use both the term, where you will be able to pretty much use the game maker as anyone on the internet. And the demo one will be the environment that we use internally to make some tests and to make sure that everything is working properly. So the idea is to create, so this presentation here, like those slides are the one that I'm usually sending to the newcomers, new level designers within the Sandbox. Obviously, this is just a visual support for what I'm talking about, but I made a special copy of this document for you to have at the end of the call, in order for you on your side to have a support. And if you follow all of this, you will be able to use the game maker if you want to. So basically what I'm saying in this presentation is the different websites that you have to follow in order to create your account, whether it's like production account or demo account. Then we have more like a pipeline of how to take care of your build and make sure that you don't lose yourself within the different build that would arrive like every now and then. And Well, I think for the moment on that side, yeah, and you will have like a lot of information on the diverse aspect of the game maker and how we are making experiences within the sandbox. Let's see, quick notes. Maybe, no, you know what? I think we're gonna move forward directly within the game maker itself. I think it will be more interesting and more entertaining for you. So I want to talk about two different type of experience that we can have within the sandbox. In the first place, you will have the solo experiences, and in a second place, you will have the multiplayer experiences. This notion is very important as you cannot make everything in solo. Like everything that is working in solo won't necessarily work in multiplayer at the moment. Don't forget that obviously we are still in alpha. This is work in progress. We are hoping for the 0.7 that will come soon to have like a lot of feature from the solo to work for the multiplayer. But right now there are some differences, and my goal here today will be to explain to you what are those differences. So first of all, here is the game maker. I opened directly an experience that I made maybe 6 months ago or so. That will cover a lot of different aspects of the game maker. We could have, first of all, a little playthrough just for you to see what we can do. So as you can see here, we are limited to a specific guideline of third-person controller with a melee attack. But we are trying to emphasize a lot also on the narrative aspect. That's why we have a very big and talented narrative team. I think most of the team must be in that call. You can say hi in the chat if you want. Let's dive into it real quick. As you can see, we have a bunch of avatar around where you can obviously add some different component and behavior. We will go into details of those later. That would lead us to a full experience with quest and a different pacing to move forward with a completion. So here, for instance, we have the melee attack that will have some consequences like opening doors in order to move forward, some triggers in order to start some conversation like here that will update on the side the different quests. We will have a lot of classic things that you could find in video games, such as collectibles that will update the quest, etc., etc. So I don't think it will be useful to go through all this experience, but at least you get the idea. So now if we dive into the game maker itself, how everything works. So first of all, the very basic of everything will be the use of blocks. As you can see in my library just down there, I have a bunch of different blocks, and using the L key on my keyboard, I can go open the library and go directly into blocks. So something I wanted to talk about earlier is the way we are presenting the art in a way, like the art vision is this one. It will be the block texturing, and it has a very big importance. It's what we call, I think, Thibaut, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it's called trinomy or something like that. And it's the fact that we are using 3 shades of color for blocks in order to create our experience. As you can see here, we have the green background that is a bit detailed, and we wanted to move away from this aspect in order to have a more iconic and identity for the sandbox. So that's why as you can see, all the map is blocked out that way. And starting with that, so let's say I will try to find 3 shades that I enjoy. Let's see, like those one, for instance. So you will be able with that to create very basic shape and paint your block all around, and this will be all the base of your world. So you just have to draw like this. You can use different shortcuts to create some very simple shape to create your volume and environment. And you can also use different brush in order to create all of that and create something more organic. And then, like I said, this will be the base of everything. So for a map like this, as you can see, we have like some buildings everywhere. At first, it was only using those blocks. And obviously, the next step will be to, once you have like all your environment that is done, the next step will be to use the different assets that you will have in the library. So in prod, you should already have like a lot of basic assets that will help you pretty much create whatever you want, and at least shape some ideas around that. Thibaut, I would like to give you the talk on maybe the asset management, on how the pipeline work. Would you be able to give like a little explanation around that?
Yeah, actually, it's quite a straightforward from voxedit. You just have to upload your assets to the prod environment, and you'll be able to use that on your own account. Of course, it's another matter of it's another issue regarding the sharing the assets with other people, but as long as you keep them in your own account, you will be able to create any kind of experiences and add your own assets to it. Yeah, just check your inventory on the dashboard for that.
All right. Yeah, thank you. I was directly on the dashboard here trying to show you a little bit the whole pipeline idea about like voxedit, that is the asset, the software that you will use to create your asset, and then the game maker, where you will be able to use those assets to create some environment and different experiences. So yeah, once the assets are done, you can, let's see, what's the name of this asset, for instance? So satisfaction. So you have a search bar, you can find pretty much everything that you want. And yeah, let's say we took this one, and then you have it with you. You can place it everywhere on the map. But the interesting part will come on the property side. Here, you have a lot of different stuff to do with those assets. So let's take a smaller asset to start. Usually we use the clay ball. This is like a perfect placeholder asset. So as you can see on the side, I have many different stuff to do with it. I will be able to hide it if I want to, check the transform position. So you take a basic engine, and the idea of this game maker was to really have all the premises of an engine that you like, such as Unity or an Unreal Engine, but to really try to keep the accessibility in the center of everything. So you will find some basic stuff that that a lot of people will know. It seems someone cannot hear. Okay, sorry. And the whole system will turn around the behavior and the components. Those are the stuff that you want to remember about. The behavior would be an only how to say that, like you will only have one behavior per asset, but you will have many components. The behavior will be very the basic of what you expect from this asset to do, and the components are other aspects to add onto it. So we can try to go through pretty much all of them. I will try to explain to you a little bit how they work and basically what you could do if you want to create your experience. I'm thinking directly to the narrative designer. One of the very, very important behavior that you have is the asker, since it will basically create all the dialogue system. So keep in mind that we are still working a lot on how to improve those, and in the future we will have an even more complex and in-depth system. But right now this is what we are using. So let's say I will put it here. Let's see. First of all, you will have the speaker of the name of the speaker. Here I use the clayball, but it could be pretty much everything that you have in your library. This is very flexible in a way. Then you will have your answer, and naturally it will add some other components that you can remove if you don't need them. Right now we'll remove the half component because okay, I will read the chat later, otherwise I will be distracted. So the component, I will remove it for the moment. So like I said, we wanted to have like a 2-layer of reading for this game maker. And that's why you have this very simple box here that you can change, but you have this button that is very important. It's the edit logic, and that will help you. That will open different parameters that you will be able to go in depth and play with. Also, another aspect that is quite important is the fact that all the game maker is based on a system of message. So what you want to do is basically send some message from some assets, and some other asset will receive those messages, and there will be some consequences. In the future, what we want to have is an actual visual scripting, but right now, using those messages, it's actually quite easy and quite simple, and it's quite fun to use, to be fair. So here, this specific behavior, asker, will require a message of interaction. We can use, if we can see if when we want to do it like only once or not. So let's say speaker name. So let's call it like JB. How are you today? And this message system I was just talking about before, here it will completely apply. So let's say if I answer I feel good, this will have the consequences. So we can say that we send the message all good. And we want this to have a consequence in the world. So let's see what can we do. Guillaume, do you have an idea of what I could do as the consequences for this?
You can do anything. Now you can spawn, for instance, an asset.
Yeah, very good points. Perfect. So this will be a nice way to introduce another behavior. It's a behavior, right? It's not a component. Yeah, it's a behavior. So let's take another clayball there. And once again, I use an asset, and I will add some consequences to it. So here, an asset spawner. So it's pretty much straightforward. As you can see, we have a bunch of parameters. I will edit the logic to have everything into it. So we have the spawn offset. We put everything on 0. We will choose the asset to spawn. So let's say we want to spawn, well, what do we have to spawn? Like an NPC, for instance. That could be cool. And here you have the message required to spawn. So I will remove the basic one that are already inside because we won't need them. And here I will try to find all good. And as you can see here, you already have your message that you created before. You have it here and you can use it to receive the message and then spawn the asset. So let's see, I'm just making sure that perfect. And I will just put the asset as invisible, invisible, sorry, because we don't want to have that in the way. And I will remove the collision as well to make sure that our spawner doesn't have a collision in the world. So let's see, I can go into my world. I will arrive near my clay ball. I can interact with it. It's asking me how I am today. I feel good. And as you can see, I just sent a message and it just spawned an NPC. So it's as simple as that. Basically all the components and behavior in the game maker are based on this sending, receiving message. This is what you want to keep in mind. This is the logic that we have in this game maker. And honestly, it's working quite well. Like if we follow the whole experience here, as you can see, I'm using a lot of hidden asset to actually have some triggers. So some triggers will be what we call detect entities. This is what we use as a proper trigger, the same one that you could find in an engine. And once again, here you will have some message to send thanks to that. So for example, here, I'm not even sure. Oh yeah, I remember this one. This one might not be the most interesting, but the next one is one that will trigger, for instance, the quest within the game maker. So talking about the quest, I'm gonna go a little bit higher in the game maker here, and you have two different buttons. This will take care of the whole global aspect of the game maker. First of all, we have the rules, which are basically the quest. And the quests are working on the same system of message that I just talked about before. So everything that you will see appear on the side here of the screen will basically it's basically sorry, I'm losing my word here. Everything you want to appear on the side in terms of quests, you will have to oh, I'm sorry, I'm losing my English. So it's horrible. Basically, this is the title of the quest, and then you have all the description, but then you will have all the details of how the quest function. So usually you want the quest to be unlocked from the start. And once again, with the system of messages, you will be able either to auto launch the quest or start the quest through a message. And this is basically what happened with this trigger just before. All right. I'm just checking if I'm missing something within the quest. At the end of the quest, you will be able to send a message to start another quest or have a consequence in your world. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the rule panel. The rest is pretty much straightforward. The welcoming player is not something that we are using in the guidelines of our experience. but it's definitely something that you can use if you want on your side to give some description of your level, when the level starts. So even put some general music. And then you have all the condition of victory and defeat. And this, once again, is pretty much straightforward. After that, I want to talk about the global parameters. So you will have like 4 different points. First of all, this you will have the avatar. This can have an importance since you can either choose to start with the avatar of the player. So the avatar of the player is the one that you will find on the Sandbox website. Let's see if I go on my profile. All right, so here is, as you can see, I have my avatar. And when we are talking about player avatar, we are talking about this avatar in particular. But let's say you want to start with a specific avatar that would represent, for example, an IP or something like that. You can definitely choose an avatar model directly to force the player to start with this avatar. Usually, we tend to stick to the player avatar because as the Sandbox is avatar centered, we want people to be able to use their own avatar. It's more fair to them. You have also a whole system of tags that you can either add on your avatar, but also on the assets. And this will be useful using the different behavior and components to send some message on specific assets. Like I said, once again, keep in mind that the very important thing in this game maker is the whole principle of sending, receiving message. Here, the system of tags will really help you to center the send of your message. And then you have down there the different equipment that you can add to your player. Once again, those are pretty much straightforward, but the assets need to be equipment, obviously. Then you will have all the management of the camera. So we are making a different type of tests. Obviously, in the future, we will have a lot of different ways to create some games. Right now, we are mainly focusing on the third person because this is the most advanced camera. But you can also make some tests with the first person or angled and top-down camera. Once you have that, you have all the parameters that you will need to tweak your camera as you want, which is quite nice. On the controller aspect, I won't go too much into detail because as I'm saying a lot, we are obviously continually working on the improvement of the game maker, and the idea is to here, for instance, we have what we call a package that is our adventure RPG. But in the future, we want to have different type of package that we will be able to change directly in the global parameters to, from the very start, have a very specific type of game. If you want to make an FPS, if you want to make a well, RPG adventure or a strategy game, all those packages will be there. But right now we are tied to the adventure controller. And finally, in the global parameters, you will have the ambience. This is the global aspect of the whole lighting and also the general soundtrack that you will add throughout your experience. So here I put some desert type of lights because I thought it would suit the level better, but you have all different type of stuff here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's continue a little bit with this experience. I want to have a look on the first enemy that we encounter. And I want to look at the properties with you and what you will need in order to have, well, the whole basic enemy. So the behavior that you are looking for will be the melee enemy. As you remember, behavior, it's only, you can only have one behavior per asset, because this is really the basic of your asset, of what you want to give to your asset. And then you have a component. Here, the component will be the health, obviously, because we want our NPC to die at some point in order to move forward on the quest. So as you can see right now, we are in a very basic type of menu, but if I edit the logic, I will have much more parameters, such as the rate of attack of the enemy, the attack damage. So this one is a very low type of enemy because it's really an introduction within the level. I was mentioning just before the tag system. We found the tag system again here. If we go back into the global parameters, we have the avatar, and the avatar is tagged with avatar and requires movement, but we don't really care about that right now. But the tag avatar is quite important, as our enemy here in the behavior, the melee enemy behavior, the enemy will look for the player, but you could completely make two enemies fight each other. You would just have to change the tag. So let's say, like we can see here down there, we have some different tags for this this NPC. But if I would duplicate this NPC, add a tag like enemy 1 and enemy 2, we could create a whole autonomous system where those NPC are fighting each other. It doesn't have to be on the player. So this is the interesting part with the like the whole tags system. The motion speed is pretty much straightforward, like the speed of the movement. Nothing really to add more on that, but I wanted to point out something again. It's the message that we send at the end of at the death of the character. Once again, we do have this this system of message that will be launched to this door, and that will open the door. So yeah, I think going through all of that, you understand now that like the whole system of message and that's it's basically the center of the game maker. I'm trying to think about, let's see. Yeah, the differences between the solo and the multiplayer. So this map is a solo map. So as you can see, I will be able to use a lot of different, well, pretty much I will be able to use all of the behavior and all of the components that exist in the game maker at this moment, and I will be able to use all of them. If I go through the behavior, like I said, it's the basic of your assets. So you will be able to add like predator, prey, etc. So I will be able to use all of them. But if we go in multiplayer, there are some stuff that won't be able to use. So let me change the map real quick, and I will move to another map that is multiplayer, and it's a map that were used for the alpha season 1, if I'm not mistaken. So let me demo. Let me double check. Sandbox game. Okay. So gonna need the credential. There. And All right. While it's loading, I will try to look a little bit into the discussion. I see you are talking a lot in the chat, which is good. Just for your information, we booked 3 hours today just to make sure that we would have time. I'm not sure we will reach the full 3 hour, but at least we will have a lot of time on our side to do some Q&A. I'm guessing you must have a lot of questions. I'm giving you a lot of information here, but we will be able to go through all of that. All right, so Fortress of Plotsu. All right. Sorry, it's taking a little bit of time. All right, perfect. So this is another map. Let's see. So I don't know. I think some people may have played the alpha before, so you might recognize this map. We have some, just like the map before, we have some different quests working in the very same way as before. We have some triggers here and there and the whole basic system of sending message. But the difference is the intention of the creation of the map is the idea that many players will be able to play on this. So the main constraint in terms of multiplayer is the fact that at the moment we don't have a lot of replication. For those who don't know what is the replication, it's basically once you have 2 players in the same map, and let's say 1 player in front of you is moving, well, you can actually see the player moving and having its animation all synchronized on your computer. This is what we call replication. And the main issue that we have at the moment is that a lot of components and behavior that are available are not replicated. So that's why there are some limitation. That's the reason why. So basically, what you want to avoid is the principle of motion. Apart from the players that are already replicated, we don't have issue with that. What you want to avoid will be for instance, everything that is platform behavior and stuff like that. So let's dive into back into the aspect of asset and logic. I will use a carpet. Maybe it's a bit too big. Let's use this one. Perfect. So I use this asset as an example. It's a very basic carpet, but I think it could be quite nice to use as a platform. And if I wanted to, basic platform, and I have all the things that I was talking about before, some basic parameters. I want to dive a bit more into it. So I have the speed, the wait duration. It's once it's reached its point, how long it's waiting. But like I said, we don't want to use this behavior because what will happen is, let's say you start your experience. You see in front of you the carpet with the platform behavior that will move. But then, let's say 10 seconds later, another player joined the session. The problem is that all the platforming aspect will be desynchronized. And basically, if I'm standing on top of this platform on my side, I will obviously see the platform moving and everything. But the player on his session on the other side, he will just potentially see me floating on the air and not being synchronized with the platform behavior. So we had to think a lot about what was the possibilities in terms of multiplayer in order to create some activities. I won't go into too much detail right now because I think it would be too much information. And fortunately, I do have an amazing document that was based on a lot of work that Guillaume did. So Guillaume, thank you for that. Where you will have all the basic guidelines that will be useful for you to use and to create some amazing and fun gameplay throughout the multiplayer aspect. All right, so I'm just checking a little bit my different points. I talked to you about the account creation and management, and obviously you will have the support of documentation for all of that. I presented you some final product, so the solo map and the multiplayer map. Okay, the limitation of the multiplayer. And we went through the basic of the logic, behavior, components, and general presentation of the game maker, which is good. So let's see. I think the next step of what we could do is to talk a little bit about. I will share this document to you at the end of the call. Don't worry. I'm just reading the chat. So what we could do here is, you're welcome. What we could do here is just create an empty map, and we could try to create some basic logic together. As an example, if you have the game maker on your side, you could open it as well. But I will try to showcase some stuff to you. So let's call it workshop 01, for example. As you can see, we can go up to 4x4 lens. At the moment, I would suggest to only use a maximum 2x2, otherwise you might have some performance issue. I know I repeat that a lot, but don't forget that we are still alpha, and we are always trying to improve the game maker. But as it is, I would suggest maximum 2x2, especially like for the hub, for instance, it can be quite useful for the multiplayer. For this example, I will create an empty map in 1x1 that will be completely enough for everyone. Yeah, I will give some details on those documents, Guillaume. I see what you're saying here. All right, so basically, once we start a map, it's like this. In terms of metrics, I will put it here. I think it's already in the documentation, but those maps are 96 by 96 blocks and 128 in terms of height. So I would strongly suggest to use a lot of verticality within your different levels. And this is the best way to take advantage of your land. We do have a basic spawner at the start. It's an asset that is already in the scene when we start. If you don't want to have this specific asset, you can completely hide it. It's no biggie, but you have to keep it in the scene. Otherwise, you will have issues spawning your player. I'm not even sure you can actually delete it. So. And yeah, if we press so tab with play, and as you can see, it's all empty. So I will try to apply simply what I was talking about before, which is the trinomial of color based on the block texturing documentation that will be available at the end of this call. And personally, what I always do first is I will use the central color as a base, and I can like draw on the floor this very base of texturing. Let's say I want to go with something that is like a bit desertic, and I will just like this paint my block all around. It's like, yeah, it's like basically like a painting, but I will only use one color at the moment because I'm just trying to shape a little bit the environment. So I don't want to bother with the color right now. All right. Let's say we have something nice. So to add some block in the map, I just have to use the left click on my mouse. And if I want to remove some blocks, I just have to right click, and in the same way, I will remove some blocks. So here I want to dive a little bit into it. And then if I hold down Control, I can paint all inside. And very quickly, and that's what I like with the Game Maker, very quickly we can instantly have shapes coming on. So imagine if you put like a half a day of work into blocking the environment, you could already have something that is quite nice. So let's say in the second place, I will use this, for example, like the brown one, and I will add a second part of second layer of color in order to give more life to that. Sorry. Yeah. I will paint here and there. So it's really something that you learn along the use of the Game Maker. This is what we use on our side. I want to emphasize on another aspect, the fact that if you look at all the type of block that we have here in this library, you also have like some texture block, and it's not because we are using this artistic direction that you have to use this artistic direction. It's just one way to for us to do it, but you have definitely some different type of block, and we encourage you to really put some creativity into all of that. So yeah, once I have that, I'm still in this idea of desert aspect. So I will go out of the block, and I will try to find some rock, for instance. Let's see, what do we have? Desert work. Yeah, that's perfect. Here. So something I didn't talk about that is well, it's quite simple, but when you select your asset, you have like the gizmo, you can move around, but some little shortcuts that can be useful for you. The fact that, for instance, if I have my asset in high in the air, I can use the N key on my keyboard to like put down the asset straight away on the ground. I think we do have a documentation. I will find it later, but we do have a documentation with all the shortcuts available within the Sandbox that would be useful for you. So I will share that as well. All shortcut can be found in the control section of the settings panel. Oh, I didn't know about that, but thank you. Okay, view control. Okay, perfect. I didn't know about that. Thank you, Guillaume. In any case, we do have a documentation, so I will give you I will give it to you anyway. And what I tend to do as well usually is in order to have something more organic. Let's say I want to duplicate this, so I select my asset, I move it around, and then I press Control D, and I can duplicate all my assets. And then if I select all of them, I can use the R key in order to put some randomness of the rotation, on the rotation of the rocks. And as you can see, it will create something more organic than just a very straight rocks all together. This is more like a level design notion, but what you want to avoid generally is symmetry. Symmetry is bad. It's bad. You don't want symmetry. So this was for the navigation. What can we do here? Trying to think. Guillaume, would you have an example of what we could showcase here?
I don't know, maybe you should go for the basics once again, but I don't know if you showed how to create a trigger based on detect entity.
Oh, okay.
And,
yeah, it's a good point.
And maybe then you can trigger a quest or maybe a toggle behavior to turn on an enemy.
Okay, yeah, it's a very good point. Yeah, okay, let's try to do that. It's a good exercise. So let's say I want to in this desert, I have an enemy, but I don't want this enemy to be working straight away when we start the level. And I don't want necessarily the enemy to attack me when I go near him until I have a condition before. So in order to do that, I think one of the very basic stuff that we need to show you, and Guillaume, you are completely right, is the trigger, the volume trigger. So we don't have like a proper volume trigger right now, but we do have like some kind of a hidden one in a way. So usually what we do is we use a very basic asset. For us, it's always the clay ball because they are simple assets, and we just got used to do it that way. If you want to use another asset, you can completely do that. No worries. So I want to let's see. I will create like some kind of an entrance in order to have something logical. There, here, some kind of a arch if you want. So I want that when I go through that arch, we will have an enemy here that will start attacking us. In order to do that, we're gonna need obviously an enemy. So I could use pretty much everything in the library. I will try to use one that makes sense, an avatar, for example, like this one. Seems nice. Yeah. So how will I be able to have an avatar that will attack my player? Well, it's quite simple. It's the same. I will start from the beginning. It's the same as the little robot that we saw earlier in the solo map. I will want to add a behavior, so the basic action of our avatar, or our NPC, sorry. And here I want to have a melee enemy, which means basically an enemy that will attack me using sword, his hand, whatever. In order to have a fair fight, this enemy will need some health. So this is a component that appears naturally when you add the melee enemy behavior. So this is convenient. Maybe the health is quite big here, so let's put it at 30, like maybe 50. And I can pretty much tweak everything here if I want to. And another aspect that we just talked about before is that the fact that we don't want this enemy to attack me right away. I want a condition for this enemy to attack me. So basically, we want this behavior to be off when we start the the experience. So if you go into the different components, you have something called the toggle behavior. So as you can see, we already have now 2 components. And as the name says so, it's one way to, well, turn on or off the behavior that is attached to this asset. So we want a condition, and now we're back to the whole message system. We want a condition that will, we want a message that will turn on this this toggle behavior. So let's say this message could be start NPC. So this message is created now. Turn off message, we don't need one, so we can leave it at none. The toggle message is, I mean, it's just one way to, well, it's a toggle. So usually we prefer to use the turn on and off message, but you can go through this toggle. For right now, I will put it at none. And we will have the initial behavior state, which means basically, is the behavior of the asset on or off when we start the experience. Here, like I said, I want this to be off in order for the enemy not to attack me straight away. So I think we're good with that. I think we're good with the melee enemy that will attack my avatar thanks to this tag. I have motion speed. I don't want to change this. Okay, perfect. So right now, if I press play, what will happen is nothing, because this character has his behavior off at the moment, but I could still attack it if I wanted to, but nothing will happen. So now we want to create like the condition that will send the message to activate our NPC. And this is where our trigger will take the moment. So in order to do that, we're gonna want to use, and I hope I'm not mistaken, it's not the asker, I'm so sorry, it's the speaker component. So what is the difference between a speaker and an asker? An asker is basically a dialog box that will pop up, and you will have some choice with it. The speaker component is a little window that will appear on top of an asset that will display some text. This could be useful just to have some NPCs talking around and not to have to talk to every NPC in order to have some information. This is very important for the narrative designer, for example, since it will be one way to have a lot of flavor and lore added to every experience. And what is very interesting with this component is the fact that if you delete all the text inside of it and you change the display condition to detect entity, we now have a basic volume trigger that when the player enters it, you won't have any message appearing, but you will be able to send a message to another entity in the current experience. So this is really, really, really important. It should be, we should have like a proper trigger component, but right now this is what we are using. So I have the detect entity, I have the detection range. I can change it that way. You can see the blue line around is the detection range. So I will leave it to 3, seems to be nice. Also, since my asset is just basically the well, the receptacle of my component here, I won't need this asset in the world, meaning that I can definitely hide my asset and remove its collision. Otherwise, it won't make any sense to have that in the middle of everything. So now what I have is just invisible trigger that when I enter it, it will send a message. And in order to send the message, I have to once again edit the logic to have more parameters in the speaker. And then, so you have a bunch of stuff here. I want to do it only once. So I'm going to say yes. You don't care about the auto hide delay. You don't care about look at player. You don't care about always on top. But what you care about is message after spoken. And this is where you will have this message send. So I created my message already for my toggle behavior on my previous asset right here. Click on it, toggle behavior, and I see my turn on message is start NPC. So I go back to my trigger, edit logic, and once the entity is detected, I want to send a message, and this message will be start NPC. And the loop is done. And now what will happen is, as you can see, we don't have any asset in the world, but the trigger is here. And if I go inside of it, now the NPC will come to me and attack me. So now I can fight. And then once the health is to 0, the NPC will die. So now that we created a situation, as you can see, it took us like maybe 10 to 15 minutes because I'm explaining it. But once you have it in mind, it's very, very quick. It's a very powerful tool. But I think it's missing something here. It's missing like a quest. So I want to start a quest. Like I said, welcoming player, you can use it or not. On our side, we don't use it in our guideline. But what I'm interested in is the quest panel. So I will activate it and I will simply add a quest. So let's say, let's find the title for this quest. It will be quite simple, fight NPC. The title must be quite short. I think it's important for the narrative designer to know about that because you will be the one obviously taking care of all of that. Guillaume, do you remember the number of character, the limitation of number of character, or because I think there is a limit?
I'm sorry. Yeah, for the title, it's pretty small.
Yeah,
but I can't remember.
Yeah, oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's an information that would be interesting to have. I will write this down for the future. Okay, sorry. So then you have your quest description. So you can give it a bit more flavor, like fight the bad guy from the desert, if you want to give it some context. So you have the unlock and the launch quest. Usually we keep the unlock as auto. And what we want to use here is the launch quest. So I can either put it at auto launch, and what will happen is quite simple. I will start the level and the quest is starting, but this is not what I want to do. I want a condition. So I will reopen my quest and I will only start the quest. So this quest will require a message once again using message. And the cool thing is that I will have one trigger that will start a bunch of stuff within the experience. So here we remember the message. It's start NPC. So now when I enter the trigger, it will start the behavior of the NPC and start the quest. Then you have an interesting thing here. It's the quest type. So it's quite straightforward. Counter, asset death, timer, wait for message. For the moment, I would advise you to use only the wait for message or the counter in general. I think they are the easiest one to use. Let's see. Because let's say you want here. It's a very specific NPC. So the asset to watch would be, well, obviously my NPC that I have in my scene. But what if I have 3 NPCs that I need to fight? In that case, it will be a counter. And here it won't be a collected object, it will be on def, because that's the cool thing. If I take my NPC here, everything is already set it up, and the only thing I have to do is duplicate it, and now it was that fast, and I now have 3 NPCs, and all the logic is already in there. So now not only my trigger will start 1 NPC, but it will start all NPCs plus the quest. So if I go back to my rules, here I want to count the number of NPCs that will die in order to complete the quest. So we now find again the tag system, because what we want to check is which asset will die. So here, let's put them a very straightforward tag name in order to clearly understand, and we call this I don't know, bad guy here. And we know that we have 3 bad guy in the world. Perfect. So we count the number of deaths of assets that has the tag bad guy. And at the end, we have a completion that is automatic. In order for it to work, we're gonna need our 3 assets to have the tag. So what I have to do is go down the properties, go into add tag, and I already had in my paperclip the name bad guy, and I just press enter, and now they have the tag. And we should have everything sorted out now, because when I enter the trigger, it will start the quest, start the behavior of our enemies. The quest is now on the side, fight NPC, fight the bad guy from the desert. And if I kill, I will try not to kill them at once. Yeah, 1 is dead, and now we have 1 out of 3. The counter is now working, and if I kill all of them, there is an auto completion, and now the quest is done. And if you want to do something else after that, well, it's quite simple. You go in your rule, the fight NPC quest is done, and at the end, you want to send a message, and it can be start quest 2, for example. And this goes on and on and on. So it's, if I can say so, it's that simple, in the sense that if you have like some notion of level design, and if you clearly know where you want to go and what you want to do, you just have to follow these very basic rules of sending, receiving message, and you will be able to have quite fun experiences with potentially a lot of flavor in terms of narration, and showcasing whatever you want inside your experience. So yeah. Okay, I think on my side, as I said, 3 hours was maybe a bit overkill for this workshop. At least we had like something like an hour or so of presentation. I think what could be nice would be to move forward on some discussion. I saw, Guillaume, you interacted a lot in the chat, which is very nice. Thank you for that. So what I'm going to do, since you followed the chat, Guillaume, could you help me find some question that could be interesting to answer, as I will continue to look in the chat as well.
I think we answered everything, but I'm pretty sure new question.
Yeah,
will come.
exactly. Well, in that case, if you have any question, even if you already asked them in the chat before, you can ask them again, and I can try to answer them with the help of Thibaut and Guillaume and Mark as well. Mark, are you here?
Maybe you can show the shortcut list once again.
Yeah.
Where is it located?
Yeah. So if you are looking for the shortcut list, the simple thing you have to do is going on the little gear button on the top, which are the settings, and then you have controls, view control list, and you have everything here. But I think we do have a document as well that will be sent to you at some point, so no worries with that. So where's the shot? Yes. Yeah, I see someone talking about Cyber Dragon. So Cyber Dragon is someone that is from the community of Sandbox, and that is now working with us, I think. And he's doing like a very, very interesting logic, pushing the game maker far away, and it's very impressive. You have a link to his YouTube channel in the chat. I would advise for you to check out this YouTube channel. It's quite nice. Are all the assets in the library free? If you want to publish the game, you'd have to mint any. Okay, so this is quite an interesting question. I will try to answer it my best, but I think I will need the backup of Thibaut on this. So basically, when you are using the prod environment, as a reminder, the prod environment is the official environment, the one that if you go on the Sandbox website, you download the game maker, it's prod. Once you have that, if you don't add anything from the market, you can go in the library and you will have tons of basic assets, and those assets are free to use. The second aspect would be the asset that you will have from the market, and then you will have the asset that you will create yourself. But to give more detail, I think maybe Thibaut would be more efficient than me to talk about it. If it's okay for you, Thibaut.
Yeah, actually, that's what you said. It's there are basic assets that you can use for free in the experiences, which are provided by the Sandbox for creating basic to extended content. Apart from that, as I said before in the meeting, you can create your own assets that will be available for your experience, and you will be able to publish your experience to the gallery as well using those assets. But keep in mind that at some point you will need to mint them to make your experience available to all in the upcoming seasons and UGC uploaded content. The difference between prod and demo is that we are also working on demo, where we can pick any kind of assets from any kind of content or accounts to create stuff with, without the limitations of having to buy them. But of course, when we are moving from demo to prod, we still have the same constraints as everyone there, which means that we'll have to have at least one copy of an asset to use it in our experiences. I hope it helps.
Cool. Thank you, Thibaut. I see someone talking about a very specific question, but I think it's interesting. So Robert, I keep having an issue with collector quest in the sense that after the quest triggers, if I open my inventory, the quest doesn't disappear after it's completed. Is that a bug, or am I doing something wrong in quest setup? I can't remember if I had this issue before. Maybe Guillaume had this issue.
Maybe he forgot to set the automatic completion in the rules panel.
Yeah, that's a good point. So Robert, if you look at the quest panel here, if you go down to point 4, quest completion, you have auto completion requires message, wait for input, blah, blah, blah. So try to double check that you have the auto completion done, and it should do the trick. Okay, I will continue through the chat. Hey, can you please give me some detail about multiplayer implementation? I'm not sure what more detail I could give you apart from the activities that we have that are in the document right now. Sorry, it's Srikant. Could you maybe give me a bit more detail about your question here? Because I'm not sure how to answer that. Either talking here or sending a message through the chat as you want. No? Okay. I will go through the chat, and if you send through the chat, I will come by it. Yeah, okay. Cool. Good question. How long do you think it will be until multiple people can work on one experience at once in the game maker? Any version control, branching, or local save file in the future? Okay, so that's quite an interesting question. As you may or may not know, right now it's not possible to work at the same time on the same map. The only reason is the fact that you can definitely open the same account on 2 different machines and open the same map on 2 different machines at the same time. But what will happen is that if you are working on the same map at the same moment, the only saving that will be kept is the last people who saved his map. So this is very important to know about. So right now, unfortunately, we don't have this technology. And to be fair, we don't have an ETA for that at the moment. Obviously, especially within the internal team, we would love to have something like that. Right now, we don't have an ETA, and I know that some people are working on some mocap for it. So this is definitely something that we are working on. But to be fair, we have already a lot of stuff that we need to work on before, so that might not be a priority right now. So keep in mind that you can work, you cannot work on both maps at the same time. I'm sorry about that. Could you elaborate on how to test and deploy multiplayer experiences, please? Yes, sure. Something that I did not talk about is those 2 little icons that you have on the top here. So you have this first one, which is share your experience. So you have 2 ways to share your experience. You have the one where you will share in the draft gallery. So let me save my level here. Come on. Sorry, it's taking a bit of time. Perfect. So if I use the home button and then I go back to the base of the game maker. All right. So here I have the drafts gallery, and this is basically all the people who are using. So I'm working in demo here because it was easier for me. But here it's all the people who shared their experience, and if you use the little icon, paper plane icon that I talk about, you will be able to do that. And then you have the other icon, which is the little planet. Maybe Mark, if you are in the call, you could talk a little bit about this, if it's okay for you. Basically, if you click on that, the experience will be like there will be a possibility to display this experience on a map, or at least have a link to it, and a link to this map. And once you have this link, you will be able to play in multiplayer with other people through the game client. But keep in mind that you cannot play in multiplayer through the game maker. This is something important to keep in mind. I was hoping for Mark to be in that call, but it seems that Mark is not here, so I'm sad, but it's okay. So I hope it help you on the multiplayer aspect. Yeah, we're talking about Cyber Dragon here. Very impressive work from Cyber Dragon. I agree. Okay. Another interesting question is about lighting. Currently, the word lighting is fixed in the game maker. Is this changing soon, or should we assume it will always be fixed and stationary? All right. Trust me, the first thing I asked when I arrived at the Sandbox was lighting. Obviously, this is a huge part of the creation of a map. This is definitely something we are working on. Like, I'm almost sure that this should happen like this year. And we actually have a dedicated team in Canada that is working on this whole lighting aspect, but not only lighting. We're talking VFX and basically all the stuff that you could need to create some amazing shows, such as like concert and stuff like that. So no, this won't always be fixed and stationary. We want to definitely to have some work on the light, but obviously those respond to a lot of constraints, and especially the performance issue. So we need to be careful with that, but we are working hard on this, and I personally cannot wait to have all of that coming. So yeah, it's coming. You know, if it will be possible for NPCs to walk on assets as well. Yeah, so it's true. It's a good observation. The fact that right now all the NPCs, whether they are enemies, we have like a bunch of different behavior, but let's say citizen, farmer, healer, predator, prey, all those behavior will the NPC will be able to wander around and walk around. But I think right now it's only working. Well, I'm sure of it. It's only working on the blocks, and I don't know if it will change in the future. Unfortunately, I don't have the information about that. I guess I would say that this is the type of stuff that we gave in terms of feedback to the development team. So it will be addressed at some point for sure. But right now, I don't have an ETA for that. I'm sorry. What is the difference between a production account and a development account? Okay, so this is quite straightforward for this one. The production account is the official account, like I said before, and the development account, so demo account, is a safe environment where we can make some tests, create some assets, and it's easier for pre-test, like for instance, all the alpha that you can see on the live at the moment is pre-made on this demo environment in order to make sure that we are not making any mistake, and we can play test beforehand. So this is the main aspect. depending on your status within the company and what you are doing, you might work either on prod or in demo. But this will be a very specific case and depending on you. So if you need any more, like if you really asking yourself at this moment, well, you can ask. No worries. All right. Yeah, I see Cyber Dragon answering. That's cool. Wow, answering Robert in tutorial amazing. Once again, Cyber Dragon, yes. So is there any way to check on several triggers simultaneously? I have only found a linear way to do so. Huh. I'm not quite sure to understand the question. Guillaume, maybe you want to back me up on this one?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure thing. Is there any way to check on several triggers simultaneously? I have only found a linear way to do so. So
I think it will be made with broadcaster, chained to broadcaster, but maybe we should have more information about what he wants to do.
Yeah, I think for a specific case like this, we would need like a bit more context in order to respond to this question. But yeah, for what I understand from it, it seems that you are talking about this trigger that we start another one, that we start another one, that we start another one, and create, like Guillaume said, like a chain. So yeah, I'm guessing the one way to do it would be to use the broadcast. Can't remember where it is. You use the broadcast more often than me, Guillaume. So do you think you could give a quick explanation on the message broadcaster, please?
Basically, the broadcaster is useful to make something like OR gate or AND gate, because if you set it to wait before broadcast, you can choose more than one message here. You can add more message. So it means that the trigger will send a message. The broadcaster will send a message. Here it's trigger if one of the message below is received. If you want to do AND gate, it means that you need to have two broadcaster, and the first one will basically send the message to the second one, but you will have to use also a toggle behavior component. It's a bit difficult to explain like that, but the idea is to send a message to the second broadcaster when the first one is on, and the second broadcaster can also send the message while it's on and when it receives the message from the first one. So it's a bit hard to explain, but basically it will work like that.
Okay. Because I have a bit more details here from Polygonal Mind that is saying like doing 1, 2, 3 works, but not 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, for instance, something like that. So yeah. It's a very specific question. I think maybe to answer that, it would be a specific thread. We can keep in touch for that because I'm afraid it will take too much time in this presentation to talk about this. But we can keep in touch on the subject. Okay, I will continue with the question that I have here. Our platform synchronized for multiplayer? No, like I said, we don't have any replication at the moment. So everything that has motion, you want to avoid. So no NPC that are moving, no platform, nothing that moves in multiplayer. Apart from the player themselves, that's the only one that are replicated.
Or you can have like birds flying around and stuff, anything that is non-interactive, like
Yeah.
doesn't touch the player.
Oh, you're here, Mark. I thought you were.
I'm here. I'm here for you.
I asked
here for
before
you.
if you were here. I was not sure. Nice to have you here. Okay, and yes, you're right. Basically, nothing that you have interaction with, and if you use the bird behavior, so it's all in the name. It's just creating a small path of a bird flying around. I would strongly suggest to remove the collision on the asset in order to do that, in order to avoid any confusion for any player. Where are the drafts stored? In the cloud? If so, is there any way to make a backup of a draft? Well, with the explanation of duplication of a map, it basically answers your question, because if you want to make a backup, you're gonna want to duplicate your map. Yeah, when you say in the cloud, yeah, I think it's on servers on Sandbox side in Argentina. I think it's how it works. Is there a way to work in teams for level design? Because we now work with the master account and it's not really a good way to work in teams. Like I said, unfortunately, we don't have a technology that allows you to work simultaneously on the same map. That's why on our end, usually what we do is one level designer has the ownership of one experience. This is how we do. All right. Where can single player or multiplayer be configured? Okay, so it's a very good point. I think it's quite easy. It's when you click.
You can't do multiplayer right now.
Yeah, in prod you can't, but if you are on demo, it's the moment when you publish your map, you have a little button that you have to click on in order to make it multiplayer or not. Is that correct, Mark?
Yeah, but you know, I've never done it. I've never done it that way.
Okay.
I do it the back end way. But yeah, I guess you could. But then, how would you? Yeah, there's something we need to test.
Yeah. Well, basically, what you want to keep in mind is in your intention of creation of map is it a multiplayer or not? If it's a multiplayer, well, you know your constraints now. And then once you want to publish it as a multiplayer, we can sort that out at this moment. But you're gonna want to publish the map, and then on the backend, on the dashboard, we can make it multiplayer or not multiplayer. This is basically how it works. Okay, so we have someone saying, I noticed there are a lot of people here asking for more advanced questions. Do you have any workflow that you think would be worth sharing for faster and better level design? Information about best practice for resource use, etc., etc. Okay, so in a way, I do have a lot of documentation, the onboarding documentation, and within this documentation, you have a bunch of links that will lead you to different aspects of either the sandbox or the game maker. And definitely it will help you understand more the level design aspect and the level design integration that you can do within the game maker. So yes, using those documentation, you should be all right. Okay, someone talking about the audio. Is it possible to use custom audio, like custom voice lines or importing music to use in experiences? So for the recent information that I have sorry, I think mainly we are working on a technology that will take care of all of that. But right now, I think you mainly have to go through the developer, and then they will integrate manually the sound on the build. So it's not the easiest at the moment, to be completely honest. But depending of your project and what you want to do, I mean, I guess we can ask if you can add some music or sound, but I would strongly suggest for the moment to use the sound available directly in the game maker. And if I remember correctly, I think they added recently some new sound. So you could use those. But yeah, it would be very specific on what you want to do. Yeah, I see. What exactly are power, defense, speed, magic, luck attributes? How do they function, or what are they intended for? Okay, so this is a good question. It's true, I didn't talk about this. There, so you are talking about this whole part. So basically, all the assets within the game maker has a rarity. It goes from common to legendary, or even none, maybe no. Common to legendary. So this rarity will have an importance on the attributes. The more rare, the more attributes you will have. And all those aspects here will have an importance in the behavior and the component. For instance, here I have my NPC that has 25 of defense here. So if I check the health that has this little, sorry, it's a defense attribute, it means that this asset will be able to have way more health than any other assets that wouldn't have the 25 in defense. Same for power, and it's the same for all of the rest. Basically, it will have an impact on here. The speed will have like the speed attribute will have an importance on the motion speed, power for the attack damage. And if I take like any other, let's say I take like a very legendary NPC like this one, and I put the same behavior like melee enemy. Now you can see that since the well, it's not working directly that way, it seems, for this one. I think it's the rarity that's giving him like yeah, I think it's the fact that it's legendary, so that's why it's growing the health. But yeah, it will definitely have an impact on all of that. Here the motion speed is bigger. So that's basically the idea of all of that. And also, it's a simple reason. Is the fact that this will create some rarity to the different NFTs, because since you will use them within the game maker, you will really have a logic to actually buy something like for a certain price, because you know that using it within the game maker will have like a huge importance in terms of power or stuff like that. So that's basically the idea. Let's see. How to use custom image to display using image display component. So for that, you're gonna need you know what? I think this one I will give it to Guillaume, because you did it more often than me. So Guillaume, if you could help me answer this question about the custom image to display, if you were in prod and if you were in demo, how it works?
Custom image is the same than for sounds. Currently, we can't do it, I mean, in a public way.
Mm-hmm.
it must be requested to the dev team. It's a case by case stuff, I think, right now, because it's not handled server side at the moment. It's handled in the build itself, meaning that the build gets bigger and bigger if we add music or picture. So it's not supported yet, but for IP and partners, I think it can be requested. So I think you must ask the person in charge of the IP and the partners within the Sandbox team. But yeah, it's hard to, we can't do that right now. Another way to use picture is to actually use NFT. If you have an NFT, you can display it in game. So it's a workaround, but obviously it's not a simple picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think it's the best way to do it, but it's a solution.
You would basically have to pay some gas fee to mint an image and then put it. But it might not be worth it depending of what you want to display. What do we have next? Thank you, Guillaume, for the answer, of course.
No problem.
We are aware we have a 3x3 plot of land in the sandbox at our disposal. Does that mean we'll have a single map of that size, or we can have multiple separated maps, separate in a separate project, as long as the total size is no bigger than 3x3? Totally. I would even suggest for you to have your central land to be some kind of a hub, depending of your project, of course. But definitely, you can even have a 1x2 experience, then 1x3 experience, then 1x1, and as you want. You can adjust this however you want.
If I may add something, sorry, GB, but a 3x3 right now is not the best way to use the land. I would suggest you to split it in smaller sizes, because 3x3s are actually requesting a lot of performances from your PC, and you may end up with some crashes depending on your hardware. So what is fully supported is 2x2 and 3x1, but maybe you should try to avoid 3x3 for now, unless you have a very small amount of assets to add in your land.
Yeah, exactly. I talked about this a bit before when I did create my map here on the screen. But yeah, I would say like you can do a 2x2 within this estate of 3x3. But I agree with you, Thibaut. It's better to split them. All right, some people are thanking for this workshop. Thank you for being here and listening to me. Please be kind. This is the very first one. Not easy to to express everything that we want, but it's a nice start. I see Guillaume answering some people. Oh, okay, perfect. We have 5 questions from Joe. Hi guys, got a bunch of questions. Making some tests, I figured out that assets from voxel was capped to 8M and 16K plus voxels. Is it acceptable to split assets in multiple assets and recompose it in the game maker? Yes, I think it's okay. Thibaut, do you back that?
Yeah, it's totally doable. Actually, you can even imagine making various parts of like an Hydra dragon, with various heads, and fight each head individually. So you would have the body on one side and the various heads, and maybe with some clever trick from the game maker side, you could trigger 2 states for the body. If there is no active heads, you could make the body crumble down and die, I guess. So yeah, totally, you can assemble assets together and create bigger ones.
Yes, that's what I thought. Great, perfect. Is there any blocks hierarchy in the game maker? I mean, if we create a nice structure with block, may we be able to duplicate it, modify specific part? Okay. Very good question. Right now we don't have this tool, but I saw some mockup about tools in order to do that. So this is definitely some part of improvement that we will add to the game maker. I know a very talented person is working on all this aspect and taking into account all the feedback that we are doing as a level designer. So so yeah, we don't have this right now, but it will come. Is there any way to scale an asset in the game maker? No, that's not the point of the idea here. Each and every one asset is unique in its size, and this is in a way the whole point of the voxel aspect. So no possibility of scaling, and it's as designed. What about collectible equipment? Is it possible to create, for example, a hat, making collectible and equipable? Sorry, I can't read anymore. So yes, completely. I'm not quite sure of what needs to be done in order for the asset to be an equipment. Thibaut can answer that, I think. But if I tap, I don't know, let's say a swarm. Let's take, do we have them? Yeah, I like this one. So let's say I put this one. Thibaut, when an asset is sorry, I will do it at some point. When an asset is imported from VoxEdit in order to be an equipment, how does that work for the asset to be an equipment?
Actually, you would have to start with the equipment template in voxEdit.
Yeah,
because if
okay.
you don't, there will be issues in the game maker.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So actually, it's quite easy. Once you have this asset that is considered equipment, you put this asset in the world. You add a component that is maybe it's not a component. No, it's component. It's collectible. So as you can see, I edit logic. I look what I have in it. I want to collect it when I do a collision. I don't want to display the name. I can make a sound, and I can send a message when I collect it, but here we don't care. I press play. I look at my sword here. I go to it. Bing. Now I open my inventory using I. And now you can see I have my sword here. I had some other stuff before, but here I have my sword. And if I double click on it, I do have the Moonlight Sword in my hand, and I can use it as a weapon. And it would be the same if it was, I think I saw a helmet somewhere here. Like you have a bunch of helmets. You can take the soldier there. Same components, collectible, play. Helmet, sword, inventory, double click, and I have my helmet and I have my sword. It makes me think about something. An important point is that at the moment we don't have a persistency within the level, meaning that playing an experience is a one shot. If you leave the experience and then you come back, you won't have any save of what you did before. And if you grab a sword in an experience and you move to another experience, you won't have the sword anymore in your inventory. it's an important notion to have in mind. Okay. Can we add custom sound in the game maker? We already answered this question. So thank you for this good question. It was nice, Joe. Currently using master account to upload assets and do most of the draft in there to avoid having to transfer asset and have. Okay, no, sorry, it was not a question. I was just reading an affirmation. Question on attributes. It's all there. Thank you, Becky, for the link. Okay, so seems to be a quite specific question, but let's dive into it. Colliders cannot be customized. Colliders are automatically determined by the game maker depending on the asset's geometry and animation. This means that we don't have good control of invisible colliders should game design it. Okay, any help on this? Well, the only help I can give you is really to adapt. We encountered this situation. What if I put okay, perfect. I have a bunch of those here. So I completely agree with you. Sometimes the collision can be a little bit of a pain. So what we do as level designers, as you can see, I have an arch here, and if I put my camera afar and I go below here, the camera will hit the arch, and it's a pain. It's a pain. So two solutions for that. It's either take another asset, for instance, if I take pillar, something like that, primitive pillar, perfect. So I will take my primitive pillar and put it right here. And I will hide it. And I will remove the collision on my arch. And now it's one way to avoid collision on the top. So it's a bit of a hacky way to do it, but it's working. No, it's not perfect, but it's working. Also, we recently saw something that was quite crazy. I hope I'm not mistaken. It's a bit of a free fall here, but let's try it anyway. I think if you put a platform behavior on a map, you put the moveset to 0, the platform speed to 0, the weight duration to 0. So basically, you just have a platform behavior, but that is not moving. I think you don't have any camera issue. And you still keep, oh no, you don't have the collision. Oh no, it's because I did. I forgot to put the collision back. Collision, all right. And here you have your collision, but no problem with the camera. So to answer with a bit of detail of your issue here, I would say remove the collision of your asset in specific case and add hidden assets in order to make sure that the collision is well made for what you want to do. And you can use these little hacks I gave you, like the platform behavior or something like that. All right, let's continue. I see we have 120 messages, so we still have an hour in front of us, so it should be fine. Okay, so if custom pictures are not supported, how do the team of Chinese Morning Post could show their photo in the game?
Yeah,
Well,
we answered that, I think.
yeah, I think yeah, it was the fact that they mint everything, I would say. You can select part of an object inside the, okay, so it's enough affirmation. Okay. I've noticed that you can model your land also by removing blocks from the surface to the inside of the initial map. How would you count the height of the land from the initial surface top up from the base? So, oh, someone already answered the question, but yeah, it's 96 by 96 by 128 blocks height. Okay, I see. Will you add a search button to the gallery to look for experiences based on their name? Yeah, I've been waiting for that for a long time. And it should arrive. I don't know when it was supposed to arrive, but yes, it's completely arriving. So no worries with that.
I think there'll be better filters as well. You know,
Yeah,
like
it's
we'll-
not only the search bar, but a lot of yeah, like
yeah,
you
and
said.
it's up to the creators to make sure that the proper metadata is in there, so that you know you can find things, because everyone's naming convention is different.
Yeah. So we have a question asking basically if it's possible to test as multiplayer before a public alpha or a public client. So I would say yes, in a way it's possible, but it depends of different stuff like whether or not you are working in prod or demo, you will have the possibility. So it really depends on your team and your implication within the sandbox. So if you want to know, please contact us directly, and we will give you an input on that. Okay. Yeah, no question for fixed. For fixed light, is there a recommendation for closed space? So I don't have really any recommendation apart from the fact that since you definitely have a defined light, source light, I would say directional light. If you take the ambiance, so we are neutral. If I take sunrise, you can see the shadow here, it's changing. Even the night, noon, desert. So let's take the sunrise one because we have a nice shadow here. I would suggest like if you create like an interior, so I have this. Let's see. Here, so now I have an interior, it's all dark, but if I open here and there, I can create some soft light on the ground. So usually we try to take into account the orientation of the light in the scene, and we adapt ourselves to this light in order to create some patterns here and there to have some visual diversity. That's usually how we do it.
And we will have lighting eventually as well.
Yeah. I already answered the question about lighting, but it was more a question about, okay, the lighting is coming, but what can we do at the moment in order to use the light as it is in the best way possible?
Yeah, and if you don't have to have like a roof, then don't have one. You know, like if the player can never get on the roof, then you don't need a roof. Like
yeah, I would strongly suggest to use the transparent block, white block transparent, and as you can see, there. Now you have like you have the light coming through, and the player that cannot. And it's a very nice way to use it on roof, for example. Can be nice.
Yeah, you can use it with assets as well if they are.
Well, the problem with assets is the fact that there is no transparency.
Yeah, but you can have like there's like iron bars and stuff that the light gets through. It creates a kind of noisy shadow, but it's
exactly.
like,
and yeah, it really adds some density to the visual of the experience. Let's continue. This is not a question. This one is a question. Finding draft is extremely inconvenient. Yeah, we answered that already. Someone sent a very long question. Okay, no, it's not a question. Sorry, it's an affirmation. Is the heavy attack be reworked in GM 0.7? Yes, yes, it will be changed. Mainly, we will have now a dash. So it will be basically the same system, the same UI, but instead of having the player staying static, you will have the player going directly into the melee, creating more of a risk-reward type of situation, instead of having this current issue where if you stand at the right distance and use this heavy attack, you can pretty much one-shot all the monster. So this will happen, and I think it should arrive in GameMaker 0.7. I hope. How to implement the multiplayer gameplay? We already talked about that. We already answered about that. Okay, I will try to answer this one, but since the Sandbox team transforms experiences into multiplayer ones, there is no difference in using demo GM and prod GM when the intention is to create multiplayer experiences. I wouldn't say this is entirely true. Once again, it really depends on what is your implication within the sandbox. But basically, if you are doing a multiplayer experience, I would advise to do it in demo in order to migrate it after on prod. But demo would be better because Mark, you said in prod we can't basically play multiplayer. I mean, we can, of course, but would be better in demo, right?
Yeah, it'd be better in demo because in production we have to publish to the map, and that makes it very public. So yeah, we can't do that. The map in demo is nobody is like a duplicate, so we can publish wherever there, like any place. So yeah, demo is best, but we're still trying to get that really fully working so that partners can just send us the ID of the experience, and then we can just publish it quickly to the map, and then we send you back the link, or the link that you sent us is actually goes live, and then you'll have a play button appear, and then you can share that link with anybody, and then they can press that play button, and then you'll all join it together if it's multiplayer. We're still working on that process though. It involves like a special, right now it involves a special version of the game maker, plus you need to be whitelisted. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a pain, but we're working on it.
Yeah, but like I said, it really depends on your implication within the sandbox. So it's definitely something you want to ask directly to us in order to see what are the possibilities. Okay. So what if the person receiving the game, so yeah, okay, the game doesn't have the asset in their library? I'm not sure, to be honest. Oh, yeah, I know actually. I think I remember. Guillaume, you can back me up on that, but basically, what will happen is that once you want to migrate your experience with the LPK, the moment where it's making the migration, it will say can't migrate missing assets. So you have a blocker at this moment.
Does it stop, or does it just not load the assets?
No, it stopped the migration totally.
Okay.
For what I remember, but maybe Guillaume, you have.
No, is that you are talking about migrating from prod to demo? Or
no,
within the
I
same...
think the question is more like, let's say I added a bunch of assets from my account from the marketplace into an experience, and then I moved the experience to another account using the technique that.
if it's related to assets, it will stop the migration. If the migration is somehow frozen, it may be because you already had at some point a map with the same name. So at this point, you should manually, you should close the game maker, manually erase the LPK file you put in local package. And then when you restart the game maker, you will see that your map is successfully migrated. I think it's a bug that is known, but yeah, you should test. I mean, if it's not stopped but frozen, it means that it worked, but you need to restart the game maker and manually erase the file.
Okay.
And I think it comes from the fact that you already had a map with the same name. So to avoid that, be sure to put a new name for your map.
Okay, thank you. Will GameMaker ever have render portals to improve performance? Currently, GameMaker can get really bogged down by assets, and it's heavily CPU bound. Any changes come soon? I don't have any really details on that, but for sure, we are working a lot on trying to have something that is really performance efficient. So be sure that we are working on that pretty much all the time. I don't know what will be the solution for all of that, but it's work in progress. Don't worry about that. The only way to create glass or blocks with transparency is uploading to the store, question mark. Well, Thibaut, can you help me answer this question, please? Or Thibaut left, maybe.
No, sorry, can you just rephrase, please?
Yeah, sure, no worry. So the question was, the only way to create glass or blocks with transparency is uploading to the store, question mark?
Yeah, actually, the only way to do that is on the dashboard, there is a transparency progress bar when you can set up your transparency from 0 to 10, I think. And yeah, you cannot set it up in the Invox edit. And you can, of sure, delete the old one or replace the old one with the new one.
Cool. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Oh, that's a good question. I think it will be for you, Thibaut, again, because I think it's tied to voxedit. Will we be able to change the liquid animation direction? So far, all liquids all the liquids are going in the same direction, basically.
Yeah, actually, they are a looping texture moving in the same direction. I don't think we have a way to tweak that parameter yet, even if we should be able to do so, because I totally understand that you would want to orientate the water flow according to your waterfall, for example, and allow the player to move along with the flow of the water, but it's not the case yet.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Also, liquids don't slow you down when you enter them mid-air. Is that a bug or is that intended? I would say it's a bug. Is it something we still have, Guillaume?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Sorry, I was maybe talking too loud. Also, liquids don't slow you down when you enter them mid-air.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. So I think it's coded like that at the moment, and I'm pretty sure it will be improved when the swim ability will come. So right now it's pretty work in progress in terms of water physics.
Yeah, it's very basic. I think it does slow you down. So if you have like a column of water and you jump into it, you will fall slower than if you were in midair. but yeah, there's no movement, or it's not very clever at the moment.
Okay, cool. Thank you for your answer. Will there be a video from the workshop? Yes, say hi. You are recorded at the moment. Will the game maker ever have run the portals to improve performance? I think I already answered this question. So maybe I.
Maybe clarify what render portals are. I don't quite understand what that means.
I'm not sure as well, and that's why I just said that I know that we are working on improving the performances, but for the portals, I'm not quite sure.
Okay. Yeah, if you can do a little bit more explanation.
Yeah, don't hesitate. Would it be possible to add some kind of crypto economy in our lands? This question is a bit, in a way, it's a bit out of scope, and I'm not sure how I could answer that. But I would say yes, in a sense that we are in a decentralized environment and using the sand as a crypto. So
Yeah, it's the long-term plan.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
But the thing about long-term plans is they may change depending on what people want at what time. So the long-term plan is to have some kind of game economy. So if that answers your question.
Yeah, I hope it answer your question. Let's see, let's continue. What metadata do we have to watch out for when publishing a land? Mark, maybe you want to take this one. To be completely transparent, I'm not quite sure I understand the question. So
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either. When you, like, to be honest, I've only published a land once, I think. So I'm not sure what metadata there is from the back end. The way I do it now, we have various things. Obviously, you'll only be able to publish to your own lands. So I'm not sure how you would select that, but you'd know your coordinates. I know that we have tags as well now. So if you look at the season 2 now, they have tags, you know, like GMF, Game Jam, that kind of thing. Title, description, yeah, images. Yeah, I think all of these are important. So yeah, make sure you fill them all in. Yeah.
Now that you talk about it, I think it's a nice way to answer this question. In terms of metadata, it's like you're gonna want to have like a profile picture and a banner for your experience, a title, a description.
Yeah.
If by metadata I mean it works, I would say, saying it that way.
Yeah, you can publish it without some of the metadata, but since we haven't got to that step yet where external people are publishing to production, then at the moment it's all very kind of free and easy. But with obviously if you're uploading to prod, then everything will be required, or the metadata.
Okay. Cool, thank you, Mark. Is it possible to increase the land size after completing the basic level design? So right now, no. When you start an experience, if it's 1 by 1, it will remain 1 by 1 forever, if I can say so. So yeah, be extra careful on what you want to do. I would strongly suggest to iterate a lot on the volume and put some blocks, put some volume in your map, and press play and put your camera around, see what are the possibilities. Instead of starting in the very middle of your map, you can really start on the top of a roof and see how it works. And yeah, that would be my advice, really. Make some tests, a lot of tests before working like properly on an experience. I think it's
yeah,
it's very
I agree
important.
with that. Yeah,
it's very important.
Spend a lot of time getting the size right. That is because it looks small, but once you add all the detail, it gets kind of a lot bigger. So always one kind of trick is to start as a 2x2 and then work and measure it all out. Start in the middle area, and then if it gets bigger, then you can expand, and then you know that you need a 2x2. Because if you're on a 1x1, you have no room to expand. And then yeah, but if you only have a 1x1, then yeah, measure it all out and try and fit your experience into that 1x1 as nicely as possible. Don't pack it all in. Yeah, don't try to do too much.
Yeah,
otherwise everything
exactly.
gets really cramped and the camera doesn't like it. So unfortunately, you are limited by the size of the land. So just block it out very, very quickly. The beauty of voxels is that you can quickly do prototypes, within 10 minutes. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I also want to emphasize on something. It's the metrics in general. Make a lot of text with the metrics. I tested a lot of experiences recently that had issue, especially with the camera. A corridor, an inside corridor, in my opinion, should be always minimum 5 block length, minimum. It's very important, because here, if I move my camera around, it's not clipping too much in the corridor. So it's a very, very limit. Exterior, a path could be like 3 block length, because you have space for your camera. But basically, the stuff that you don't want to have is like something like that. A corridor like this, it's no go.
Don't look at the player, look at the camera.
Yeah.
Imagine there's a big ball following the avatar, and that thing, it has plenty of space to move around. So this is kind of a common beginner mistake, is to put everything to real scale, as into like the scale of the avatar.
Yeah.
But make everything just a little bit bigger than normal, so that or much bigger, to allow for the camera if you want, because if the camera is jerking around a lot trying to fit into narrow gaps, and it will cause your players to have a headache.
Yeah.
It's never fun.
It's never fun. I completely agree with that. Also, as you can see, I created 2 platforms and marked some blocks on the ground. Here we have a length of 8 blocks. So I know that by sprinting and jumping, I can jump 8 blocks. But as you can see, it's very tight, meaning that it will require a lot of effort to your player. So create your metrics from the very beginning. It will help you, definitely. For instance, I know that a long jump, I usually put 7 blocks max, because as you can see, it's a fair jump, nice, challenging, but it's not too tight, which is good. And now I want to know, for instance, how many block I will jump if I just walk. And those metrics will be very important, because once you start with those basic stuff, so for this one, I think it's something like 5 or so, if I'm not mistaken, for the walk. But then you're gonna want to ask yourself, like, okay, what if I want to jump to do a diagonal like this? What if I want to jump from here to here? And what if my reception is not a block anymore, but it's actually an asset? So you're gonna want to keep that in mind, because otherwise it will feel off, and you want to keep some kind of logic between your whole level design, and also something that your player will have a good moment navigating in. This is very important.
Yeah, and another thing I think is quite useful to know is, so JB, can you click on cube
Yeah. What do you want? Blocks?
in the side menu? No, yeah, any block.
Yeah.
And then in the the free diamond cube sphere, that box there, click on the cube.
Oh, there. Yeah.
There, yeah, click cube. Cube.
Yeah. Okay.
And then if you put the depth to the height to 1, and then I usually use a width and a depth to 8. And then if you hold down Control, you can paint if you hold down Control.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, and it's not working. I don't know why.
Is that okay?
Huh, that's weird. For some reason, it's not working. Okay.
Oh, maybe you got a buggy one, but usually you can paint with that block, so you can make like a checkerboard pattern that will allow you to measure things out.
So you can basically do something like that.
You can make a grid, and then I work into that grid.
Yeah.
So it's a good way of measuring everything out, and
Yeah, I agree. I personally I do almost the same, but I prefer to work more on a micro type of way.
yeah, that drives me crazy though, because I always miss one, and then I have to count. This way, like you can do like, say, sometimes I do 7 wide and 7 deep. That way I have a middle point. So I can do like the walls of buildings and that kind of thing. But
and
yeah,
with that,
if you're working on
really,
a 2x2 doing ... it will drive you mad.
Yeah. So yeah, this is one way to really prepare your volume within your experience. And then once you have those volume, you need to find some functionalities to them. That's the whole thing. But here it's more like basic level design. Question, any tips when filling in water if you have some blocks, let's say in the water without deleting it? Oh, yes, it's a good question. Unfortunately, no, we don't have anything right now that would help really with the water. So let's say I'm doing this pit here, and I want to fill it with water. I'm gonna have to
do it by hand. Yeah,
yeah, do it by hand.
That is another feature that will be coming soon.
Yeah,
it's what will probably happen is that you will have a volume that doesn't collide with the other blocks, so you can draw just a big block, and then that will be selectable as a whole, and then you can move it up and down.
Yeah, let's say I want to remove this part, I have to delete both cube and then fill it again, and now. So yeah, it's a pain. So my suggestion is wait until your level is completely done, and then you put water. So this is unfortunately the only advice I have for you at the moment. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, or don't do underwater levels until we have swimming and the water tool.
Or don't do underwater level because they're usually
yeah, not fun. Not right now anyway. You're just walking slowly.
No, we won't assume that your level is not fun. It's not nice. Okay. The more I scroll down, the more I see some messages. Unfortunately, I don't think we will be able to go through everyone's, but we still have like something like 20 minutes to go. So I will do my best to try to answer as many as possible. Okay. Question about the mist. Would there be a way to controlling it, activating, deactivating intensity and all? So by mist, we're talking about this. Well, it's hard to see, unfortunately, properly, but if you look afar, just above my avatar head, you can see it's a bit blurry. So we actually call it the fog. And this is one way to hide like the LODs, so the level of details that appear. And for what I understand, I think in the future it will be possible to tweak that. But I don't have an ETA on that. I saw some discussion about it, but I'm not quite sure, so I won't say more about it.
Yeah,
But
all of these kind of hard-coded things like fog and light direction, they will be editable in the future.
Yeah.
I think they will have
it will be everything in global parameters like ambiance.
global parameters, or they will have an actual asset in the level. So you could have an asset that is the sun, for example. That is the point of light. So you could have a direction.
Yeah.
Just like if it was Unity, you know, Unity has the direction light. There is a direction light somewhere in there, but you can't see it.
Yeah, clearly. But well, you can imagine it because you see the shadow here, so it must be somewhere here. But anyway,
well, it's directional, so it could
yeah,
be anywhere.
I just realized by saying it that it's directional, so it's everywhere. Okay, let's continue. Any updates on when the IK will be usable in voxel-based? Thibaut, any idea of what is IK? Sorry, I don't know
think
about.
Thibaut left.
Oh, he left?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sad.
Inverse kinetic
Ah, okay.
for the animation.
Okay, good point. Thank you. I can't answer that, unfortunately. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have enough knowledge of voxel-based, and I don't want to give you the misinformation. So I'm sorry about that. Okay. Same, we have a question about good practice, good way to make and modify some animation. Once again, I won't be able to answer that, I'm sorry. But keep those information on those questions on the side. And okay, let's see. Still a question about moving the whole blocks as a one structure. For the moment, no, but I think there are some mockup on that. If you published on the gallery, but you made new changes, do you republish or can you update that? Or how do you do that? It's a good question. I think you have to republish and it will erase the previous one.
Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah. Don't think it updates the date as well. Yeah, when you republish, it will always keep the original published date, which is confusing.
exactly. Yeah. And can you delete the old one? Yes, it will be like naturally deleted. Let me see. Are there plans for us creators to fully customize the camera? Well, yeah, I talked about it before. You do have the camera here, so you can already tweak the camera as you want. You should have the first person, the angle, and top down. So those are the parameters that you have already. And I'm pretty sure a lot of new feature will arrive for you to tweak the camera as you want. I have a question that I'm not sure to answer. Like, can you teleport from the hub? Well, I think the question is like, we currently have the hub of the Sandbox, and would it be possible to teleport maybe from the hub to your experience? So this is really, so sorry if I interpret the question because I'm not sure to quite understand, but the idea is it really depends if your experience is part of the alpha, because the whole hubs thing is it's from the alpha. But if you have an estate of, let's say, a 3x3, we had this example before, you can definitely have a central hub within your estate. And then from this central hub, you have some portals that will teleport you to any other experience around you.